hell? Look at these animals invading our neighborhood. I'm calling the cops right now. This is unacceptable. Yes, I'm calling about a gang gathering disguised as a wedding. These thugs are probably casing houses right now. Send every unit you have. I don't care what costumes they're wearing. Criminals are criminals. Get them out before they rob us blind.
What the hell? Look at these animals invading our neighborhood. Brad Whitmore spits the words with naked contempt, jabbing his finger like a weapon toward the wedding celebration unfolding just yards away. His face is flushed, veins standing out on his neck, as if rage itself is fueling him. He storms across his perfectly trimmed lawn, phone pressed hard to his ear, his voice deliberately loud enough for every guest, every server, every musician to hear. 911. Yes, I'm calling about a gang gathering disguised as a wedding. These thugs are probably casing houses right now. Send every unit you have. His lips curl with satisfaction as he speaks as though he's already won. Samuel Jefferson, elegant and composed in his tailored tuxedo, stands frozen at the edge of the celebration, the venom in his neighbor's voice cutting deeper than any shouted insult. Angela tightens her grip on her bouquet, her knuckles whitening as she presses closer to Sam. Her wedding dress, immaculate and glowing under the afternoon sun, stands in brutal contrast to the ugliness poisoning the moment. Brad locks eyes with Sam while continuing his call, his stare calculated and cruel. I don't care what costumes they're wearing. Criminals are criminals. Get them out before they rob us blind. The soft strains of classical music drifting from the backyard suddenly sound hollow, fragile, as if the air itself has been corrupted. Conversations die mid-sentence. Federal judges, prosecutors, senior legal minds people, accustomed to courtrooms and consequences, stand in stunned silence, watching hate spill freely in a place meant for joy. Cameras stop clicking. Smiles vanish. What Brad doesn't know, what his arrogance blinds him to, is that he has just made the biggest mistake of his life. 3 months earlier, Samuel Jefferson had carried Angela over the threshold of their dream home at 1247 Maple Drive. The colonial-style house, complete with a wraparound porch and towering oak trees, was more than just property. It was a symbol, a reward, proof of everything they had survived and earned. Sam had spent 20 relentless years climbing from street-level prosecutor to a federal appointment, fighting cases others were afraid to touch. Angela had transformed pediatric surgery with techniques that saved children once written off as lost causes. Brookhaven Estates whispered wealth through every manicured hedge and polished driveway. Million-dollar homes lined streets named after trees, tennis courts and swimming pools hid behind privacy fences. It was the kind of neighborhood where success lived quietly behind closed doors. But success, they quickly learned, looked different when it wore black skin. The first incident came during Sam's early morning jog. Brad Whitmore had stepped directly into his path, arms crossed, body positioned like a human roadblock. "Excuse me," he had said, his tone dripping with suspicion. "Do you live here?" The question lingered in the cool morning air like smoke. Sam, sweat cooling on his brow, had calmly pointed toward his home. Brad's eyes narrowed, assessing, judging. "I'm just looking out for the neighborhood," he replied. The message was unmistakable. The harassment escalated weekly, sometimes subtly, sometimes boldly. Brad complained to the HOA about Sam's vintage motorcycle, calling it inappropriate for neighborhood aesthetics. He cornered Angela while she watered her garden, asking if she was the new domestic help. His voice always carried the same mix of false authority and quiet disgust. During neighborhood association meetings, Brad ruled the room like a self-appointed king, his voice booming across the community center as he name-dropped connections with theatrical flair. "Chief Collins and I golf every month. Mayor Hayes comes to my barbecues. I keep this neighborhood safe through my relationships." Other residents nodded along, unwilling to challenge the man who claimed to control property values and influence. The Johnsons, an elderly white couple, whispered support to Sam and Angela in private, but fell silent in public. Fear of Brad's retaliation kept good people quiet and injustice unchallenged. Sam's federal judicial appointment had been confirmed just 3 weeks earlier after grueling Senate hearings. 2 decades of prosecuting civil rights cases, defending the Constitution, and standing between the powerful and the vulnerable had culminated in that moment. Soon, he would wield the authority to shape federal law, to protect the very rights Brad trampled daily. The irony was sharp. While Brad bragged about knowing local officials, Sam would soon outrank them all. Federal judges served for life. Their decisions echoed through generations. Angela's medical practice had earned international recognition. Her surgical methods appeared in journals across the globe. She consulted for federal health agencies and spoke at conferences from Boston to Beijing. Yet to Brad, she was nothing more than skin color and assumption. Their wedding guest list read like a directory of federal power. Judge Patricia Morrison, Sam's longtime mentor, was flying in from Washington. U.S. Attorney James Davidson had cleared his calendar. Federal marshals, prosecutors, and legal scholars would gather to celebrate love surrounded by quiet hostility. On the morning of their wedding, Sam stood in his bedroom adjusting his bow tie. Watching through the window as vendors transformed their backyard into an elegant sanctuary, white tents billowed in the breeze, string lights waited to glow against the evening sky. Flowers curved in vibrant arcs across the lawn. Angela emerged from the bathroom, her dress flowing like water, radiant and unbreakable. After 20 years of fighting injustice, today felt like victory. "Are you ready for this?" she asked softly, excitement and concern intertwined. Sam kissed her forehead. "I've been ready my whole life." Outside, Brad paced his lawn like a caged animal. His complaints to city officials had gone nowhere. The wedding would proceed. He watched federal vehicles arrive, government plates gleaming, mocking his supposed influence. The neighborhood buzzed with anticipation and tension. Some residents chose love and brought gifts. Others hid behind curtains, unwilling to take sides. A few agreed with Brad but lacked the courage to act. Brad's wife Patricia had grown weary of his obsession. Their children avoided coming home, ashamed. His real estate business was already suffering as whispers spread. Still, pride and prejudice drove him forward toward his own destruction. As afternoon shadows stretched across Maple Drive, luxury vehicles arrived one after another. Federal judges stepped onto the street like dignitaries, transforming the quiet suburb into something resembling a state occasion. The stage was set for a collision between hate and justice, between small-minded power and federal authority. Brad Whitmore was about to learn that some battles cannot be won with intimidation or connections. He was about to discover what real power looks like. The wedding ceremony reaches its emotional peak beneath a flower-covered arch glowing softly in the golden afternoon light. White roses and cascading greenery frame Sam and Angela as if the world itself has paused to witness their vows. Angela's voice trembles as she speaks, not from doubt but from the overwhelming gravity of the moment. She promises to love Sam through every challenge life dares to bring, through storms seen and unseen. The words feel strangely prophetic, hanging in the air with a weight no one can yet explain. Sam listens, eyes locked on hers, grounding himself in her strength as the guests watch with smiles and quiet tears. Brad Whitmore, however, cannot contain himself any longer. The sight of black joy, black success, and black authority unfolding so beautifully across the lawn ignites something ugly and uncontrollable inside him. He storms back to his phone, dialing with shaking fingers, his breath sharp and uneven. His voice erupts across the peaceful gathering like a battle cry meant to shatter the moment. 911. This is Bradley Whitmore, president of the Brookhaven Estates HOA. I'm reporting major criminal activity at 1247 Maple Drive. Large group of suspicious individuals. Expensive vehicles that clearly don't belong to these people. This looks like gang activity disguised as a wedding. His words drip with calculated malice. Every phrase is chosen carefully, designed to trigger maximum alarm, maximum force, maximum humiliation. He paces his lawn like a predator circling prey, expensive loafers crushing the perfectly manicured grass he once bragged about maintaining. I personally know Police Chief Collins and Mayor Hayes. They golf at my club every Sunday. I donate $50,000 annually to police charities. Chief Collins personally assured me that complaints from Brookhaven Estates receive priority attention. These officers better take this seriously, or there will be consequences. With every sentence, Brad raises his voice just enough to ensure the wedding guests hear him. He wants them to understand his power, his reach, his belief that he can destroy their celebration with a single phone call. Across the city, the emergency dispatcher's voice crackles through radio static. All units, priority call. Brookhaven Estates. Complaint reports large gathering, possible criminal activity, suspected narcotics. Complainant identified as HOA president with verified city connections. Officer Rebecca Martinez glances sharply at her partner, young Sergeant David Carter, as their cruiser speeds toward the address. The siren wails through the quiet suburban streets like a banshee, announcing chaos where none existed moments before. Rebecca's stomach tightens. Something's wrong here, David. That address belongs to Samuel Jefferson. He's a federal prosecutor. This call doesn't make sense. Carter's jaw tightens with rookie resolve. His knuckles whiten on the steering wheel as red and blue lights bounce off identical houses. Doesn't matter who lives there, Rebecca. We respond to all calls equally. And the complainant has serious city connections. The cruiser rounds the corner just as Sam lifts Angela's veil and leans in for their first kiss as husband and wife. The timing feels cruelly deliberate, as if fate itself is testing them. Red and blue lights slice through the romantic atmosphere like knives through silk. Applause freezes mid-air. Champagne glasses stop halfway to smiling lips. Children instinctively duck behind their parents as the cruiser's spotlight sweeps across the gathering like a prison searchlight. The classical quartet falls silent, bows lowering in confusion. Brad rushes toward the officers with barely concealed triumph, his face flushed with vindication. Gravel crunches beneath his polished shoes as he approaches like a prosecutor ready to present his case. Thank God you're here. I've been monitoring this suspicious activity for hours. Look at this chaos. Unauthorized vehicles blocking our street. Unknown individuals loitering with obvious criminal intent. Clear violations of multiple city ordinances. His voice projects deliberately, ensuring maximum humiliation for the wedding party. Federal Judge Patricia Morrison, dignified in navy silk, watches in horror as her protege is subjected to public degradation on what should be the happiest day of his life. Officers, I'm Bradley Whitmore. Brad continues smugly. Chief Collins and I golf together every month at Brookhaven Country Club. Mayor Hayes attended my daughter's graduation. Party last month? I keep this neighborhood safe through my extensive connections, and this situation requires immediate, decisive action. He pulls out his phone, scrolling theatrically. I have Chief Collins on speed dial. One call from me can make or break police careers in this city. Officer Martinez approaches the gathering with measured professionalism. Her trained eyes take in the elegant decorations, the formal attire, the licensed caterers, the clearly organized setup. Everything about the scene screams wedding celebration. Nothing suggests criminal activity. Good evening, she says calmly. We received a complaint about a large gathering and possible criminal activity. Is this a private celebration? Sam steps forward, still holding Angela's trembling hand. His wedding ring catches the fading sunlight like a quiet declaration of dignity. Officers, I'm Samuel Jefferson, the homeowner. This is our wedding reception. We have all required permits for this private celebration on our property. Brad interrupts before the officers can respond, his voice rising with manufactured authority and undisguised contempt. Don't let him lawyer his way out of this. Look at these expensive cars, Mercedes, BMWs, Lexuses. Where did these people get money for vehicles like this? Drug money? Stolen cars? Money laundering through fake wedding gifts? He waves dismissively at the guests. I've seen this before. Criminals hiding behind fake respectability. He turns sharply towards Sergeant Carter. If you run those plates, you'll find stolen vehicles and outstanding warrants. Carter, influenced by Brad's confident tone and relentless name-dropping, begins asserting control. Sir, we'll need to verify vehicle registrations and check all attendees for outstanding warrants. Everyone please step away from the vehicles. David Martinez whispers urgently, stepping closer. This is clearly a legitimate wedding. Look around. This isn't criminal activity. The complainant made serious allegations and has verified city connections. Carter replies stiffly, we need to be thorough. Brad senses momentum shifting in his favor and becomes more aggressive. He points dramatically at the guests, his voice carrying across Maple Drive like a grotesque carnival barker. Look at these so-called wedding guests. Half of them probably have extensive criminal records. That man in the expensive suit looks like a drug kingpin. Those women in fancy dresses? Probably high-class prostitutes using this fake wedding as cover. The air grows heavy with disbelief and outrage as hate fully bares its teeth right in front of federal power, sworn law, and a bride still holding her bouquet. Angela grips Sam's arm tighter, her wedding bouquet trembling uncontrollably in her free hand. 20 years of medical school, surgical residency, endless overnight shifts, and saving children's lives, years spent standing between death and fragile hope, and she's being openly called a prostitute at her own wedding. The insult lands like a physical blow, stealing the air from her lungs. She keeps her posture straight, refusing to collapse under the weight of humiliation, but her eyes shimmer with restrained pain. "Ma'am," Sergeant Carter says, turning toward her notebook already open, pen poised as if interrogating a suspect instead of a bride. "What's your occupation?" Angela lifts her chin slightly, her voice calm despite the tremor in her hand. "I'm Dr. Angela Thompson Jefferson, Chief of Pediatric Surgery at Metropolitan Children's Hospital." Her words carry quiet authority, the kind earned through blood, sweat, and lives saved. Brad scoffs loudly, his laughter sharp and deliberately cruel, echoing across the stunned gathering. "Anyone can claim to be a doctor," he sneers. "Check her credentials. Probably as fake as this entire wedding charade." A ripple of disbelief moves through the guests. U.S. Attorney James Davidson, distinguished in his formal wear, steps forward with measured authority that instantly shifts the air. "Officers," he says firmly, "I'm U.S. Attorney James Davidson for the Northern District. This harassment is completely inappropriate. He's a respected federal official celebrating a colleague's wedding." Brad throws his head back and laughs even harder, the sound soaked in mockery. "Federal officials?" he gears. "Now they're claiming to be federal employees?" "Officer Carter, they're getting more creative with their lies by the minute." The situation escalates dangerously as more guests step forward. Compelled by outrage and disbelief, Federal Judge Rodriguez approaches with judicial calm, honed over decades on the bench. "I am Judge Rodriguez from the Third Circuit Court of Appeals," he says evenly. "This celebration is entirely legitimate, and this harassment must stop immediately." Brad's confidence never wavers. In fact, it grows. His voice rises, theatrical and domineering. "I don't care what fake titles they claim. Anyone can print business cards and government IDs these days. Officer Carter, if you don't start making arrests immediately, I'm calling Chief Collins personally. He'll be directing elementary school traffic by tomorrow morning." Carter feels the crushing weight of that threat settle onto his shoulders. His career, his future, his reputation all dangling between Brad's promised protection and the intimidating presence of federal authority. Sweat beads at his temple. Based on the complainant's allegations, he says stiffly, "We need to conduct searches of all vehicles for contraband and weapons." Sergeant Sam says quietly, his voice steady but firm, his legal training unmistakable. "What specific probable cause do you have for conducting warrantless vehicle searches?" "We have a reliable complainant with verified city connections reporting ongoing criminal activity," Carter replies, bristling as Sam's legal precision exposes the weakness of his position. Before the tension can snap further, Federal Marshal Robert Torres, tending simply as a wedding guest, steps forward. His presence is calm, authoritative, and unyielding. "Sergeant," he says, "I'm Federal Marshal Robert Torres." Brad's jaw tightens. His carefully constructed narrative is beginning to crack under the weight of real authority. "Marshal, federal this, federal that," he snaps. They're all sophisticated liars using fake government credentials. "Officer Carter, these are professional criminals who study government procedures to avoid detection." The confrontation crosses into its most dangerous territory when Carter, overwhelmed by competing authorities and intoxicated by Brad's promised protection, makes his catastrophic decision. He turns sharply toward Sam. "Sir, you're being argumentative and obstructive to this investigation, placing you under arrest for interfering with a police investigation and inciting public disorder." A collective gasp rips through the gathering. Angela's face drains of color beneath her delicate veil. Her knees nearly buckle as she tightens her grip on Sam, terror and disbelief flooding her eyes. Federal officials, men and women who shape national law, and frozen in stunned silence as a local sergeant threatens to arrest a federal prosecutor at his own wedding. Brad's triumph feels absolute. His voice rises in vindicated celebration. "It's exactly right. Arrest the ringleader first, then systematically work your way through the rest of these criminals." At that exact moment, two vehicles screech into the driveway. Mayor Hayes and Police Chief Collins step out, having frantically monitored police radio chatter about the unfolding disaster. The moment they take in the scene, the wedding attire, The federal officials? Sam being targeted, the color drains from their faces. Dear God, Chief Collins mutters under his breath. What kind of disaster have we walked into? Time seems to freeze at the peak of injustice. A distinguished federal prosecutor facing arrest at his own wedding. A bride publicly humiliated. Federal officials silenced by local arrogance. All orchestrated by a racist neighbor's calculated lies and a rookie sergeant's devastatingly poor judgment. Brad's confidence reaches intoxicating heights as he watches Sergeant Carter prepare the handcuffs. He struts across his lawn like a conquering general, his voice booming across the neighborhood. Finally, some real police work. Officer Carter, I want you to know Chief Collins will hear about your excellent performance tonight. You're exactly the kind of officer this city needs. Brad pulls out his phone with theatrical flair, scrolling slowly for maximum effect. See this direct line to Chief Collins? Mayor Hayes. City Councilman Rodriguez? I text them regularly about neighborhood security. They trust my judgment completely. He waves the phone like a weapon. One call from me and careers are made or destroyed in this city. Carter straightens, emboldened by Brad's words. His chest swells with misplaced pride as he surveys the elegant gathering with renewed suspicion. Everyone step away from the vehicles immediately. We're conducting a full investigation based on credible reports of criminal activity. Officer Martinez steps in urgently. David, this is clearly a wedding celebration. Look at the decorations, the formal attire, the wedding cake. Nothing here suggests criminal activity. We don't ignore serious allegations from respected community leaders, Carter snaps back. Brad senses the perfect moment to escalate his psychological warfare. He steps closer to the guests, his voice dripping with manufactured concern, ready to twist the knife even deeper as the balance of power teeters on the edge of collapse. Ladies and gentlemen, Brad Whitmore announces loudly, spreading his arms as if addressing a jury. No, you think you're at some kind of celebration, but you're actually witnesses to organized criminal activity? I strongly advise cooperating with police before you become accessories to whatever crimes are happening here. The words crash over the gathering like a public execution. Guests glanced at one another in disbelief, some clutching drinks, others instinctively pulling loved ones closer. Federal Judge Patricia Morrison, Sam's mentor and one of the most respected jurists in the country, steps forward with decades of judicial authority radiating from her posture. Her voice is calm, measured, and lethal in its restraint. Sir, I am Federal Judge Patricia Morrison. Your accusations are not only false, they're reckless and potentially criminal themselves. Brad bursts into mocking laughter, the sound loud and derisive. Judge, he scoffs. You people are really committed to this charade. Officer Carter, they're using fake federal credentials now. That just proves how sophisticated this criminal operation really is. Dr. Angela Jefferson stands frozen, bouquet clenched in white-knuckled hands, watching the happiest day of her life collapse into a waking nightmare. Voice trembles as she forces herself to speak. We have marriage licenses, permits, vendor contracts. Everything here is completely legal and fully documented. Documents can be forged. Brad fires back instantly, his theatrics growing more animated. I've seen these scams before. Criminals rent fancy clothes, print fake IDs, stage elaborate events to launder money and conduct illegal business. His finger shoots toward the wedding photographer. Look, they're recording everything for intelligence purposes. It's probably mapping the neighborhood for future break-ins. Officer Carter, you should confiscate all cameras and phones as evidence. Marcus, the photographer, barely in his 20s, lowers his camera with shaking hands. Sir, I'm just documenting their wedding day. I have contracts, business licenses, everything legitimate. Contracts with criminals are worthless, Brad sneers. You're probably documenting security weaknesses for future robberies. U.S. Attorney James Davidson steps forward again, voice firm but controlled, desperately trying to restore order. Officers, I'm U.S. Attorney Davidson. I can personally verify the credentials of everyone here. This harassment needs to stop immediately. Brad whirls on him with renewed venom. U.S. Attorney. These fake titles are getting more elaborate by the minute. Officer Carter, they're obviously trying to intimidate you with phony federal authority. Don't let them manipulate you. Carter, overwhelmed and clinging to Brad's promised protection, like a life raft, doubles down. Everyone needs to produce identification for warrant checks. Anyone refusing will be arrested for obstruction. Federal Marshal Robert Torres steps forward once more, his badge catching the evening light. Sergeant, I'm Federal Marshal Torres. You're violating constitutional rights based on demonstrably false allegations. Another fake federal marshal, Brad shouts, his voice rising toward hysteria. Officer Carter, they've clearly studied law enforcement procedures. This is exactly what sophisticated criminal organizations do: impersonate federal agents to avoid arrest. Brad's behavior spirals further. He paces frantically, face red with exertion, pointing wildly at guests. Look at those children, probably trained pickpockets. Those elderly people, perfect cover for drug smuggling operations. Officer Carter, you need to search everyone thoroughly. 8-year-old Emma Thompson, Angela's niece and flower girl, bursts into tears as Brad's accusations land on her. A small white dress and flower crown make her look like innocence itself. But Brad's paranoia sees only targets. That little girl is probably carrying drugs or weapons. Children make perfect mules, because police don't suspect them. Officer Carter, search her immediately. Angela rushes forward, wedding dress sweeping the ground as she drops to her knees beside Emma, wrapping the sobbing child in her arms. She's 8 years old, Angela cries, her composure finally cracking. She's my flower girl. How dare you accuse a child of criminal activity? Fake emotion, Brad shouts triumphantly. Classic criminal manipulation. Officer Carter, don't let them use children as human shields. Fear ripples through the crowd. Elderly relatives whisper frantic prayers. Guests raise phones, recording in shock and terror. The elegant wedding transforms into something resembling a police raid. Sam's grandfather, Reverend Thomas Jefferson, 90 years old and stooped with age but unbroken, steps forward slowly. His voice is frail yet carries decades of lived history. Son, I've seen this hatred before. In Montgomery, Selma, in Birmingham. The uniforms and excuses change, but the hatred stays the same. Brad turns on him viciously. Fake Reverend playing the victim card. Officer Carter, this is classic criminal psychologies, using elderly accomplices to generate sympathy. The old man meets Brad's eyes, unflinching. Young man, you are walking a very dangerous path. Hatred destroys the hater more than the hated. Philosophical manipulation? Brad screams, completely unhinged now. Officer Carter, this proves they're sophisticated criminals using psychological warfare. Arrest them all before they escape. Carter, fully poisoned by Brad's paranoia, makes his most devastating decision yet. I'm calling for backup units. This situation requires crowd control and systematic arrests. Officer Martinez steps in one last time, voice urgent and strained. David, we have no probable cause. These accusations are obviously false. We need to de-escalate immediately. The complainant has documented criminal activity, Carter replies mechanically. His connections to city leadership verify his credibility. We're proceeding with full investigation and arrests. Brad's triumph peaks as sirens wail in the distance. Additional units respond to Carter's call, their flashing lights bathing the neighborhood in harsh red and blue. Perfect, Brad says smugly. More real officers who understand how to handle criminal situations. Make sure they know about my relationships with Chief Collins and Mayor Hayes. The arriving officers step out of their vehicles, surveying the scene, the wedding decorations, the crying child, the terrified guests, the federal officials with growing confusion. And in that charged moment, the fragile line between authority and atrocity begins to snap. Wedding decorations, formal attire, unmistakable signs of celebration clash violently with the dispatch report still crackling over police radios, describing criminal activity and alleged gang violence. The contradiction is impossible to ignore. Sergeant Williams, a veteran officer with decades etched into the lines of his face, steps toward Carter with a look of deep concern. His eyes sweep the scene, the flower arrangements. The terrified guests, the crying child, the federal officials standing rigid with disbelief. Chen, he asks quietly but firmly, what exactly are we looking at here? Because this looks like a wedding celebration. Carter, still riding the momentum of Brad's influence, straightens his posture. Major criminal operation disguised as a wedding, he responds with misplaced confidence. The complainant has verified city connections and documented evidence of ongoing criminal activity. Brad immediately rushes toward the arriving officers like a politician greeting loyal supporters. Officers, thank God you're here. I've been trying to get these criminals arrested for hours. Chief Collins knows me personally. He's calling right now. The veteran officers exchange troubled glances. Years on the force have trained them to sense when something is deeply wrong. But Carter's aggressive certainty and Brad's relentless name-dropping create dangerous hesitation. No one wants to be the officer who ignored a politically connected complainant, especially not with so many radios recording every word. As more police vehicles arrive, the peaceful wedding celebration transforms into something resembling a military occupation. Red and blue lights bounce off crystal champagne glasses. Radio chatter drowns out what remains of the classical music. The smell of police exhaust mixes grotesquely with roses and lilies. Guests huddle together, whispering prayers or clutching phones. Children cry openly now. Angela clings to Sam's arm, her face streaked with silent tears. The joy she had imagined for years has been shattered by hatred and ignorance. "Sam," she whispers, her voice breaking, "make this stop. Please make this nightmare stop." Sam looks down at her, his expression calm despite the storm surrounding them. "Angela," he says softly, steady as stone, "we're going to get through this." Truth always prevails, even when it takes time. But even Sam cannot imagine how violently and completely the truth is about to detonate. Several blocks away, Mayor Hayes and Police Chief Collins sit inside an emergency vehicle, monitoring the radio traffic with mounting horror. Each update tightens the knot in their chests. "Bob," the mayor whispers, voice strained, "if this is what I think it is, we're staring at a federal civil rights catastrophe." Chief Collins stares at the radio like a man watching his life unravel. "We need to get there now. This could destroy the entire department." Back on Maple Drive, the stage is set for total reversal. Sergeant Carter raises his handcuffs toward Sam's wrists, his hand trembling slightly as doubt finally begins to seep through the bravado. Then Federal Judge Patricia Morrison's voice cuts through the chaos like a lightning strike. "Sergeant Carter, stop immediately. Every sound dies. You are about to arrest the newly confirmed federal district judge for the Northern District." The words hit the scene like a nuclear explosion. Brad's triumphant grin freezes mid-expression. Carter's hands shake violently as the handcuffs slip from his grasp and clatter onto the pavement with sharp metallic finality. A stunned silence blankets the gathering. Sam reaches into the inner pocket of his tuxedo jacket with deliberate calm. He produces official documents bearing federal seals, judicial appointment papers signed by the President of the United States, Sergeant Carter. "Mayor Hayes," Sam says evenly. "I'm Judge Samuel Jefferson, confirmed by the United States Senate 3 weeks ago. I'll be sworn in next month." The revelation detonates through the crowd. Carter's face drains of all color, turning ghostly white in the flashing lights. His knees visibly wobble as the weight of his catastrophic mistake slams into him. Brad's confident smirk collapses into raw terror. His mouth opens and closes soundlessly, like a man drowning. A federal judge." Brad croaks. "That's impossible. Dead. Federal judges don't live in regular neighborhoods. This has to be a hoax." His hands shake uncontrollably as his carefully constructed worldview disintegrates. "Federal judges live in Washington," he insists weakly. "They don't buy houses in suburbs like normal people." Judge Morrison steps forward, her presence commanding absolute authority. "Mr. Whitmore, federal judges live in communities across America. What is very real is that you've just filed false police reports against a federal official, which is a serious federal crime." Sam's voice remains controlled, his judicial temperament unbroken despite the humiliation. "Mr. Whitmore, you've accused federal officials of criminal activity, demanded illegal searches, and attempted to have me arrested at my own wedding. These are federal offenses with severe consequences." The wedding guests erupt some in applause, others in tears. Federal colleagues clap openly. Family members sob with relief and fury. The sound rolls through the neighborhood like thunder after lightning. Brad begins hyperventilating, "Your Honor, please, this is all a misunderstanding. I had no idea. I would never knowingly harass a federal judge." "Ignorance of my position doesn't excuse filing false police reports or racial harassment," Sam replies calmly. "Federal courts take civil rights violations very seriously." At that moment, Mayor Hayes and Police Chief Collins screech into the driveway. They leap from their vehicle like men escaping a fire. "Judge Jefferson," the mayor stammers, rushing forward. On behalf of the entire city, I offer our deepest apologies. This is an absolute catastrophe of justice. Chief Collins looks physically ill as he surveys the scene. Your Honor, Sergeant Carter is suspended immediately, effective now. This department will cooperate fully with any federal investigation. Carter's career evaporates in an instant. His badge feels like a lead weight in his pocket as the consequences crush him. Your Honor, he says weakly, voice cracking, I destroyed my career by listening to false accusations. I have no excuse. U.S. Attorney James Davidson steps forward, his tone unmistakably prosecutorial. Judge Jefferson, this incident involves clear violations of federal civil rights statutes. And with those words, the full machinery of federal justice begins to turn right there, on the lawn where a wedding was almost destroyed by hate. The FBI will conduct a comprehensive investigation into this harassment, U.S. Attorney Davidson states plainly, his words landing with the weight of a federal indictment. Brad Whitmore's composure finally disintegrates. The color drains from his face as the full machinery of federal justice begins grinding toward him. Yes. His hands shake violently as he steps forward, voice cracking. Your Honor, please. I have a family. I have a business. I made one mistake, one misunderstanding. Please don't destroy my entire life over this. Sam looks at him with judicial precision, no anger in his expression, only clarity. Mr. Whitmore, this wasn't a mistake or a misunderstanding. This was deliberate racial harassment using false police reports as weapons. Federal law exists specifically to address such violations. The media explosion begins instantly. News crews arrive within minutes, alerted by live streams and viral clips posted by wedding guests. Camera lights flood Maple Drive. Helicopters circle overhead. Headlines write themselves in real time. Federal judge harassed at wedding by racist neighbor. The story spreads across the internet like wildfire. Federal Judge Rodriguez steps forward, his voice measured but resolute. Jefferson, this harassment occurred in front of multiple federal officials. We have dozens of federal witnesses to these civil rights violations. The power reversal becomes unmistakable. Sam, the intended target, now stands at the center of federal authority. Brad, the aggressor, shrinks visibly, reduced to a trembling civilian facing prosecution. Carter, the enforcer, stares into the void of a destroyed career. Brad's phone begins ringing non-stop. The very connections he bragged about abandon him in silence. Calls go unanswered. Texts remain unread. Mayor Hayes and Police Chief Collins, once invoked as shields, now stand deferentially before their federal superior. I need to call my lawyer, Brad whispers, barely audible. I need to call my lawyer right now. That would be wise, Sam replies calmly. You'll need excellent legal representation for federal court. The wedding photographer, no longer afraid, raises his camera again, documenting the historic reversal. The contrast is striking. Sam stands tall, dignified, unbroken. Brad collapses inward under the weight of his own hatred. Angela steps forward, her wedding dress still pristine despite the wreckage around her. Sam, she says softly, our wedding day became something more important than we ever imagined. Sam takes her hand gently. Sometimes justice arrives in unexpected ways. What happened today will protect other families from enduring what we endured. Behind closed curtains and open windows, the neighborhood watches as federal authority asserts itself over local prejudice. Property values will not fall. They will rise tide now to federal judicial prestige. Brad's real estate empire begins collapsing in real time. Contracts are canceled mid-call. Clients flee. His social media accounts explode with condemnation as videos of his behavior trend nationally. The transformation is complete and irreversible. The man Brad tried to expel from his neighborhood will soon shape civil rights law across the entire federal district for decades. Federal justice has arrived in Brookhaven Estates and it wears Sam Jefferson's face. Brad's psychological collapse unfolds publicly. His knees buckle, forcing him to grip his mailbox for support. Sweat pours down his face despite the cool evening air. Your Honor, please. I'm begging you, he stammers. I didn't know who you were. My business, my family. Please don't destroy my life over one terrible mistake. Sam's voice remains steady. Mr. Whitmore, filing false police reports against federal officials isn't a mistake. It's a calculated federal crime. Federal prosecutors will determine the consequences. Mayor Hayes rushes forward, desperation etched into his face. Judge Jefferson, the city accepts full responsibility. We're implementing immediate policy changes and will cooperate fully with any investigation. Police Chief Collins steps forward sharply. Judge Jefferson, Sergeant Carter is terminated immediately for civil rights violations. Security will escort him off the premises. Carter's badge slips from his fingers and hits the pavement with a sharp crack. Your Honor, he whispers, broken. I destroyed 20 years of police work because I chose prejudice over justice. U.S. Attorney Davidson nods grimly. Judge Jefferson, the Department of Justice will proceed with federal civil rights charges. Mr. Whitmore will face prosecution. Brad's last trace of color vanishes. Federal charges, he whispers. I can't go to federal prison. I have children. You should have considered that before weaponizing the police. Angela responds quietly, surgically. News vans flood the street. Reporters shout questions. Cameras roll. This is Sarah Carter reporting live from Brookhaven Estates, where a federal judge's wedding was disrupted by racially motivated false police reports. Social media ignites. Hashtag federal judges trends nationally within minutes. Neighbors emerge. The Johnsons rush forward with flowers. Judge Jefferson, we're ashamed we didn't speak up sooner. This neighborhood is honored to have you. Others scramble for distance. I never supported Brad, Mrs. Patterson pleads. I was afraid. Brad's phone buzzes again and another contract canceled. He stares at the screen in disbelief. 20 years, he whispers. 20 years destroyed in one afternoon. Then Patricia Whitmore steps forward, composed and resolute. Judge Jefferson, I'm filing for divorce immediately, she says, removing her wedding ring. My husband's racism doesn't represent my values. I won't let his hatred destroy our children's future. As sirens fade and cameras keep rolling, one truth stands unchallenged. Hatred lost. Justice arrived. And it arrived wearing a tuxedo on a wedding day. Federal marshals arrived on Maple Drive in coordinated precision, their black SUVs rolling to a stop with an understated authority that transformed the scene instantly. Where once the wedding felt like a vulnerable gathering under attack, the presence of trained federal officers converted it into a fully protected federal event. Marshal Robert Torres took command calmly, issuing instructions with measured efficiency. Your Honor, we are providing federal security for the duration of your celebration, he stated, his voice carrying both reassurance and absolute control. Officers positioned themselves discreetly but visibly, signaling that any further attempts at intimidation would be met with immediate consequence. The wedding party, still reeling from the trauma of Brad Whitmore's malicious harassment, began to breathe again. Sam and Angela, standing together amid the elegant chaos of their ceremony, made a deliberate choice to reclaim their day. Love over hatred, justice over prejudice. We've witnessed the law prevailing over bigotry, Sam announced to the gathered friends, family, and colleagues, his voice steady, resonant. Imbued with the calm authority of a man confirmed by the United States Senate. Let us celebrate not just our marriage, but the triumph of federal law. Angela lifted her bouquet high, the flowers catching the fading sunlight like a banner of victory. No racist neighbor will diminish our joy, she declared. Today we celebrate marriage and the federal justice system protecting all Americans. Windows across the neighborhood opened as residents looked on, some in awe, others in quiet shame. Phone calls flooded City Hall demanding accountability, the public now aware of the magnitude of Brad's malicious actions. Federal oversight became inevitable, and national attention mounted with every passing hour. Brad sat on his front steps, powerless. The man who had claimed control over the neighborhood now faced the very federal authority he had sought to evade, wielded by his intended victim. Calls to Mayor Hayes and Chief Collins went unanswered, or met with awkward, evasive replies as they scrambled to distance themselves. Federal justice moved swiftly, signaling that Brad's reckoning had only just begun. 2 weeks later, the Department of Justice launched a comprehensive federal investigation, deploying unprecedented resources. FBI Special Agent Sarah Williams led a team of civil rights investigators who approached Brad Whitmore's life with surgical precision, uncovering decades of systematic prejudice. Whitmore, Agent Williams stated firmly during the conference briefing. You are being charged with federal civil rights violations, filing false reports to federal investigators, and conspiracy to violate the constitutional rights of federal officials. The investigation revealed Brad's long-standing pattern of discrimination. Digital forensics uncovered years of harassing emails to city officials, financial contributions tied to discriminatory policies, social media posts containing explicit racial slurs, and over 200 documented racially motivated complaints targeting minority residents. This was not an isolated incident, Agent Williams explained to federal prosecutors. It was a systematic campaign of harassment using governmental resources as weapons. 3 months later, Brad faced trial in the imposing federal courthouse where Sam Jefferson would soon preside. Poetic, ironic twist, not lost on anyone in the courtroom. The man who had attempted to remove Sam from his neighborhood now stood trial under Sam's future jurisdiction. Federal prosecutor Martinez addressed the jury with precise gravitas. Ladies and gentlemen, defendant specifically targeted a federal judge and federal officials because of their race, attempting to use law enforcement as instruments of racial terror. Evidence overwhelmed the courtroom. Video footage from multiple angles captured Brad's calculated cruelty. Testimonies from federal judges, prosecutors, and marshals detailed the unprecedented nature of the harassment. Expert witnesses explained the psychological warfare involved in weaponizing police against minority residents. Brad's defense attorney struggled to maintain a foothold. My client made an error in judgment, he argued weakly. But filing a noise complaint isn't a hate crime. This was not a noise complaint, Prosecutor Martinez countered sharply. This was psychological terrorism disguised as civic duty. The federal jury deliberated for only 2 hours before delivering unanimous guilty verdicts on all counts, the speed of the decision reflecting the egregiousness of Brad's actions. Federal Judge Patricia Carter, presiding with the full weight of constitutional authority, delivered the sentence. Mr. Whitmore, your actions represent a direct attack on federal authority and constitutional rights. You are hereby sentenced to 3 years in federal prison, 5 years of supervised release, $150,000 in fines, and 2,000 hours of community service at civil rights organizations. Brad's legs gave out as marshals approached with handcuffs. His sobs echoed in the courtroom, each one a public confession. 3 years, federal prison. My children will lose everything, he whimpered. Judge Carter's response was firm and unsympathetic. You should have considered your children before attacking your neighbors, Mr. Whitmore. Meanwhile, former Sergeant Carter faced his own federal prosecution for civil rights violations under color of law. His trial became a textbook case in the systemic dangers of local prejudice overriding federal protections. Prosecutor Johnson explained to the jury, Defendant Carter transformed his badge into an instrument of oppression. Using his authority to enforce racial discrimination, he was sentenced to 2 years in federal prison and permanently barred from law enforcement nationwide. The Jefferson case catalyzed sweeping reforms. Attorney General Williams announced the Jefferson Protocol for addressing racially motivated complaints within police departments. Federal mandates followed. Mandatory civil rights training for all federally funded departments. Federal monitoring of 911 systems to flag racially biased calls. DOJ oversight of discriminatory police departments, and grants to support community policing programs. Simultaneously, Sam and Angela filed a federal civil lawsuit seeking both damages and systemic reform. Represented by civil rights attorney Robert Jackson, they argued, this case seeks not just compensation, but fundamental changes to prevent federal officials from facing racial harassment in their own communities. The federal court awarded $35 million in compensatory damages, $7 million in punitive damages, mandatory sensitivity training for the police department, federal monitoring of city policies for 7 years, and the creation of a federal civil rights ombudsman position. The case established groundbreaking legal precedent, ensuring that Brookhaven estates and communities like it would never again be a battleground for racially motivated harassment. Law schools across the United States added Jefferson v. Whitmore to their civil rights curricula, teaching students the unprecedented clash between local prejudice and federal authority. Police academies incorporated the case into mandatory bias and civil rights training programs. showing new recruits how even community policing could be weaponized and how federal oversight could correct abuses. Civil rights historian Dr. Washington analyzed the case in depth, writing extensively on its significance. Jefferson established new protections for federal officials from racially motivated harassment and revealed how unchecked local prejudice can directly undermine federal authority, he declared during a nationally televised symposium. Congress responded with remarkable speed. Senator Rodriguez, inspired directly by Sam Jefferson's experience, sponsored the Federal Officials Protection Act. No federal judge, prosecutor, or official should face racial harassment in their own communities, the senator declared during a floor debate, voice firm with conviction. The legislation passed with overwhelming bipartisan support, creating enhanced penalties for targeting federal officials and establishing rapid federal response teams to investigate civil rights violations. International attention followed immediately, as human rights organizations studied the case to understand how a federal system could protect minority rights when local authorities failed. The United Nations Civil Rights Commissioner Lopez cited Jefferson as a benchmark for global policy. This case demonstrates the capacity of a federal legal system to intervene when prejudice threatens justice. Brad Whitmore's destruction became a cautionary tale. The federal conviction triggered cascading consequences. His real estate license was permanently revoked, business assets seized to cover fines and damages, and social ostracism descended with brutal finality. Former associates distanced themselves, while his children sought therapy to process the trauma and shame brought by their father's actions. Memberships at exclusive country clubs were revoked. Political allies publicly condemned him. Business partners dissolved all associations. The man who had once claimed to control the neighborhood became its pariah. Meanwhile, Brookhaven Estates underwent a profound transformation under federal oversight. The neighborhood received federal grants to implement diversity programs and was designated a federal civil rights heritage site. Property values, buoyed by federal attention and judicial prestige, increased dramatically. 6 months after the wedding incident, Sam Jefferson's judicial confirmation ceremony took place in the same federal courthouse where Brad had been convicted. News coverage highlighted the symbolic arc, from wedding harassment to judicial authority. Having experienced discrimination firsthand, Sam understood the critical need for federal civil rights protection. During his first major ruling, he established precedent protecting minority professionals nationwide, ensuring enhanced enforcement of anti-discrimination laws and expanded federal oversight of local government practices. International observers followed closely. Foreign governments studied the Jefferson case as a model for protecting minority officials from local persecution. Academic conferences revolutionized civil rights training programs, with the Jefferson Standard becoming the benchmark for federal civil rights protection. Scholarship programs were launched to support minority students pursuing federal careers, creating a lasting pipeline of diverse legal and governmental professionals. 1 year later, the transformation was complete. Federal oversight ensured sustainable change. Annual audits prevented discrimination. Ongoing monitoring reinforced civil rights compliance. And Brookhaven Estates became a model neighborhood, demonstrating how systemic racism could be reversed. Brad Whitmore served his federal sentence, isolated in his orange jumpsuit, while Sam Jefferson wielded judicial authority to protect Americans nationwide. The contrast between their fates was stark. The perpetrator crushed under federal law, the victim elevated to shape it. Federal justice, properly applied, had created systemic change. Individual courage, Sam and Angela's refusal to bow to hatred, had triggered protections for entire communities. 2 years later, Judge Samuel Jefferson presided over civil rights cases in the imposing federal courthouse. Morning sunlight streaming through the tall windows and illuminating the scales of justice carved into marble walls. Reporters and law students often asked, "Did that wedding day change you?" Sam reflected quietly. "Experiencing injustice while knowing I would soon have federal authority taught me this justice delayed is justice denied." Angela Jefferson transformed their trauma into national impact. Her office displayed federal appointments, including positions on the Surgeon General's Advisory Committee, the Federal Health Equity Task Force, and the National Civil Rights Board. "Our wedding trauma became a catalyst for federal health care protections," she explained to medical students. I ensure minority communities receive safeguards that local prejudice cannot undermine. Judge Jefferson's courtroom itself became a civil rights landmark. His rulings created binding precedents that protected Americans nationwide. Legal scholars studied his opinions, and international delegations observed his enforcement of federal civil rights protections. Meanwhile, Brad Whitmore served his third year in federal prison, his empire obliterated, the orange jumpsuit, replacing the expensive suits that had once symbolized his pride and local domination. Brad Whitmore stands before a room of police recruits, his voice hollow, trembling with the weight of absolute loss. "I destroyed everything because I couldn't accept black success," he admits, eyes haunted. "I lost my family, my business, my freedom, my reputation, because I chose hatred over humanity." Every word echoes in the lecture hall, a chilling testament to the consequences of unchecked prejudice. His real estate empire, once a symbol of local power and pride, had collapsed under federal investigation. His wife and children relocated, changing their names to escape the association with his disgrace. He had become a case study in federal prosecution, his mugshot appearing in training materials for law enforcement agencies across the country. Former Sergeant David Carter, now fully aware of the catastrophic consequences of his actions, speaks with measured authority. Having served his federal sentence, he works with the Justice Department to train officers nationwide. "My career was destroyed, but my experiences prevent other officers from making the same catastrophic mistakes," Carter says. The Jefferson case created permanent federal changes. He demonstrates how the Jefferson Protocol now screens all 911 calls for racially motivated reporting. Federal teams investigate civil rights violations immediately. Justice Department oversight ensures that police departments serving integrated communities are continuously monitored. Congressional legislation now establishes enhanced protections for minority professionals in public service. Brookhaven Estates has been transformed, becoming a federally recognized model community. International delegations study its integration success, learning how federal oversight, policy reform, and community engagement can create sustainable inclusion. Federal incentives attract diverse professionals, ensuring that neighborhoods previously marred by prejudice now thrive as inclusive communities. Federal authority is shown to exist not just on paper, but as a real tangible force protecting all citizens from local bias and systemic discrimination. Judge Samuel Jefferson addresses the National Civil Rights Conference, his voice resonating with decades of professional and personal experience. "When we wear robes, when we carry federal authority, we serve justice for everyone," he declares. His judicial legacy has created binding constitutional protections, enhanced federal safeguards, expedited jurisdiction over harassment cases, stricter penalties for false police reports, and comprehensive oversight of local law enforcement. The Jefferson case catalyzed legislative and systemic change, influencing federal statutes and creating mechanisms that prevent similar incidents nationwide. Senator Williams champions expanded enforcement programs, ensuring systemic reform and safeguarding minority rights. A narrator contextualizes the impact for the audience. The Jefferson story proves that federal institutions can protect citizens when local systems fail, but only if the people themselves understand, engage with, and utilize those protections. Federal justice requires citizen engagement and vigilance, the voice intones. One person's courage can transform protections for millions. The message is direct, urgent, and educational. Your voice matters, reporting discrimination, supporting civil rights legislation. And understanding federal protections are not optional. They are essential. The scene shifts to a visual of the federal courthouse, sunlight glinting off marble steps where equal justice under law is carved in bold letters. The camera pulls back, revealing the full majesty of federal authority as a bulwark against local prejudice. When you witness injustice, the narrator asks, will you seek only local remedies, or will you demand the full protections of federal civil rights law? The question hangs in the air, challenging viewers to take action. Segment closes with a clear call to action. Share this story. Subscribe to Fate Tales. Engage in protecting civil rights for every community. Turn on notifications to stay updated on federal civil rights enforcement. Contact your representatives. Report violations directly to federal authorities. Judge Jefferson's final message resonates with authority. The federal system exists to protect rights that local prejudice would deny. When citizens act courageously within that system, justice not only prevails, it transforms society. The camera lingers one final moment on the courthouse, its marble glistening in the sun. A timeless symbol of the triumph of federal law over hatred, fear, and injustice.